All right, welcome back to another episode of Bet GPT. This is episode, 29, I believe. We've been doing this since late July. We have no intention of stopping anytime soon. So episode 29. This is kind of gonna be a fun podcast because we just spent the whole weekend together and we just talked sports the whole weekend. I know we were out at the bar Saturday night, and instead of talking to girls, you were talking to someone about how you had a podcast. So I love your dedication. I love how you're getting our good name out there. But yeah, sucks you're back on the East Coast now.
So I will say the weather this weekend, it was beautiful. I feel bad for all of our friends in the Midwest dealing with snow tonight.
Yeah. I don't feel that bad. They had a chance to move.
That's true. But they keep the economy humming up there. They are America's heartland. We
Brady up there shopping in the third ward, making sure that there's enough money to go around up there.
Exactly.
All right. 6-pack. You know what I forgot? So while I recap the 6-pack here, during this 6-pack recap, I'm going to add in a live sound clip that I put in Sunday morning while watching one of the games. So I figured just to give you guys a little live reaction for the Saints game, I'd throw that in there. So let's start there. Saints money line. Yeah, this one was a doozy. I'll insert the sound clip right here.
All right, just want to check in live real quick. It's 10:19 Pacific time. We bet on the Saints in our 6-pack, and they just forced a 4th and inches at basically around the 10-yard line. The Colts decided to kick a field goal, but then the Saints, there's a defensive penalty where they lined up over the center, and of course the Colts went down and scored a touchdown. So vibes are bad right now, but I promise when we record this Tuesday, we're going to have a winning record. I'm not too worried. I just wanted to check in and say that was stupid.
So as you heard, Saints really screwed that up. They gave up a touchdown, which should have been a field goal, but it didn't matter. They came back, won the game pretty handily. The Colts are bad, so that was a win for us. That moved us to a nice 1-0 to start the day. Just running through the other ones quickly. Our teaser lost because the Chiefs, who are the most overrated team in the NFL, got destroyed by the Broncos. Blame it on Mahomes being sick. Blame it on the Broncos defense being improved. I don't care what you blame it on. That was ugly. We'll chalk up the L on that one. Seahawks -3.5. They beat the Browns by 4. I think that one might have been a little lucky, but luckily PJ Walker is the worst athlete to ever walk the planet. And then let's see what else we got here. The Lions -7.5 on Monday nights. That one got a little dicey. We won that one. App State -16.5. Slade
they lost
failed
by 10. Yeah,
Slade
I let you guys down.
They won by 10, but we needed them to win by 17. Slade failed to tell us that they were going up against Southern Miss, who has Frank Gore Jr. Can you explain yourself? Why?
I knew they had Frank Gore Jr., but they scored 3 points the game before. So what did it matter then?
His dad's a Hall of Famer. Of course he's going to run for 200 yards. Come on. And then you also had the Ohio State-Wisconsin under 45.5, which was a win. So 4-2 week. We're positive. If you go to our tracker on Twitter, you can see we're up 7.43 units. Slade's up 4.68 himself, and I'm up 2.75. So Slade leading the pack. Thank you. All right. So going straight into, I don't know. Do you want to talk NFL here? Do you want to talk?
Should we talk some NFL trade deadline? Should we talk about how the Bears just fleeced? Should the Bears just fleece the Commanders?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
The Bears traded their 2nd-round pick for Sweat. I don't know why I can't think of his first name right now. Is it Montez Sweat?
Yeah.
And then the Commanders also traded Chase Young. I saw Nick Wright make a tweet today about why the Bears traded more for Montez Sweat than the 49ers did for Chase Young. Newsflash: Chase Young isn't good. Chase Young has played in 19 career games. Chase Young has 21 and a half less career sacks. He has 30 less tackles for loss. Montez
But
Sweat
he
has
was the
played in
number one
every
pick.
game. Yeah, Montez Sweat has played in every game in 4 of his 5 career seasons. The only play, like, he's in the company with, like, I mean, he's obviously not TJ Watt or anything like that. But, like, when you look at what players have had at least like 5.5 sacks over the last 5 years, there's only 7 names, and it's like Khalil Mack, TJ Watt, Max Crosby, Montez Sweat. Like, he's in that category. He has more sacks than our entire defensive line this year. There's nobody you're going to get in the second round that can do that. Everyone's talking about the expiring contract. Well, guess what? They can put a franchise tag on him, worst case, but he's going to get extended.
I forgot about that. Why would he sign an extension with the Bears? What benefit does he get by not hitting free agency and signing with the team that's ready to win next year?
I mean, what if the Bears go and get Caleb Williams next year, and then they are good? This is the NFL. It's not like they're going to need like 5 years to rebuild this.
I mean, free agency is before the draft, so I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to know what their draft position is. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing the Bears will probably pay him market value. So if you can lock that up now, it might make sense to do so. An interesting nugget on the Chase Young thing: the Commanders reportedly feel that trading Chase Young was an addition by subtraction. I don't know if you saw that. Basically, they think that he's like not bought in.
I believe it. His body language doesn't look great. He kind of looks out of shape almost. I don't know. I know like edge defenders are like bigger dudes. Like they're not like all muscle like Myles Garrett necessarily, but I don't know. He doesn't look the build like a perennial Pro Bowler. PFF has him rated as the 34th best edge rusher. So congratulations to the San Francisco 49ers.
And I'm pretty sure he wants a big bag too. And it's like, dude, you've played 19 games over the last 3 seasons. You have literally played a third of your team's games over the last 3 years. And I don't think you're as good as you were 2 to 3 years ago. There's like these weird stats about how the Commanders' defense has statistically been better when he's not there. Like, they were a top 5 defense last year and he didn't play. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not mad that we missed out on him. Montez Sweat, you just got to lock him up. I'm not too worried about it. This is a really weak defensive end or edge rusher class in the first round, let alone good luck finding someone in the second round. So, were there any other notable trades you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I just have a list here. I was going to run through them. The Packers traded Rasul Douglas, a cornerback, to the Bills, which is good for the Bills. They got to shore up that defense. Browns traded Donovan Peoples-Jones to the Lions. Vikings traded guard Ezra Cleveland to the Jags, which I think is huge. He has like 40-plus starts at guard. So that'll help bolster that offensive line for the Jags. Cardinals traded Josh Dobbs to the Vikings. I think those were all the big, if you will, moves today. Pretty quiet generally.
The Josh Dobbs one's a little interesting because, one, I don't think the Vikings are going to compete for anything, even if Josh Dobbs comes in and is like decent. So now not only do you lose the potential trade return of trading Kirk Cousins, but you're also now giving up. I know that wasn't a huge haul, but now you're giving up picks to get a QB in just to like be mid.
Yeah, they traded a 6th and they got back a 7th too. So they must not value that 6th much. And they didn't really have a choice though. Like Jaron Hall's their backup quarterback. I don't even know who that is. He played college football at BYU and he was a 5th round pick last year.
Yeah, so he couldn't beat out Zach Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of the deadline. Not a whole lot to go around. I did see that Adoree Jackson for the Giants was got traded to the Niners, but they didn't get into the league office fast enough. I don't understand. What is the benefit of waiting until like 3:59 to put it in? I don't know why people do that.
Yeah, that's kind of silly. And it's also awkward now for Adoree Jackson. Like,
Yeah.
your team just traded you, but because of a technicality, you didn't get traded.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so that's pretty much the deadline. We can run through the other NFL games right now. I mean, I feel like when I was talking to you the other day, we were like, this is kind of a somewhat boring week. We learned that the Bengals are probably good again, which is unfortunate for our future, but they beat the Niners 31-17. And if you're at home right now, just pour a drink for Brock Purdy. He's
I jinxed him.
It was a bad Brocktober for him.
I give him props for like the first time ever, and he goes 3 weeks of just playing dog shit football.
How do we bet him to throw an interception, then he doesn't and throws 5 the rest of the month? How does that happen?
The gambling gods.
Yeah.
The Chiefs lost, but we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. It was a fluke. Mahomes had the flu. Doesn't count. Blah, blah, blah. It was on the road. Blah, blah, blah. They looked past the Broncos. Blah, blah, blah. Next.
Yeah, I think as a Chiefs hater, kind of putting that aside, I think these losses are good for the Chiefs. They need to like test things out offensively, and basically they've learned that their bozo wide receivers can't catch, so they need to figure out how to get
back to the trade. Going back to the trade deadline, the Chiefs did like nothing to help the wide receiver room.
I mean, they got McCole Hardman. That's it.
Yeah, I guess a week or two ago, whatever it was. I mean, that's an upgrade. They've gotten him involved, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't think like they were going to get a Devontae Adams or anything like that. Definitely not.
Yeah,
but I don't know. The room isn't very good, so even someone who's slightly above average would have been an upgrade. I mean, they
speaking of the room not being very good, pivoting to the Giants game. Have you seen their QB room?
I can't believe they almost won that game.
Well, they had it won. I mean, they missed like a 26-yard field goal. Tyrod Taylor went 4-7 for 8 yards. Tommy DeVito out of Illinois went 2 of 7 for -1 yards. For you fantasy owners out there, if you had Darren Waller on your team like I do, if I told you that he had 57% of the team's receiving yards, you'd probably be pretty happy. Except he had 4 out of the 7, so that's not what you want.
Tommy DeVito looks like he's in the mob. He looks like he's in the Sopranos.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even think Tommy DeVito was a good college quarterback. It would basically be like having your NFL team ran by Cade McNamara, but maybe worse. At least Cade won in college.
Yeah. Dude, there's just not good quarterbacks somehow. I feel like we've fallen off a cliff. Like it feels like 3 or 4 years ago, we were complaining about guys like Cooper Rush and Josh McCown, when really like a lot of teams would kill for one of those guys right now.
Yeah. How did it get so bad? I know Aaron Rodgers got hurt, but like even just from last year, it just seems like it's gotten even worse. I know injuries, but there's always injuries. And it's going to keep getting worse because Kirk Cousins is down now.
Yeah. As a Browns fan today, if we didn't have the Deshaun Watson contract on our books, I think by the end of the offseason, I would talk myself into wanting to sign Kirk Cousins. He's good.
Oh, if I were the Browns, I'd want Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
He just can't play in the big moments for whatever reason.
It would have been nice to have, a Nick Chubb. Like the Vikings don't really have a running game this year.
Yeah.
Really,
they just got their first rushing touchdown. Their first rushing touchdown was Cam Akers, who they
if you had Kirk Cousins with like a healthy Nick Chubb and Ford and everything, I think he could look a lot better even.
Well, the Browns could have used him this week because Mr. PJ Philip Walker went 15 of 31 for 248 yards, all on screen passes with 2 interceptions. The Browns were winning. They had a 3rd and 3 to win it at the end. If they didn't get it, they could have still punted and forced the Seahawks to go down the field and get a field goal to tie it. Instead, PJ Walker threw it as hard as he possibly could off someone's helmet, and it bounced straight up in the air for an interception. So I don't know why the Browns didn't trade for Jacoby Brissett today. Apparently, they offered a 6th-round pick, and the Commanders said no. Which
They wanted to
I don't
pay
really
too
blame
big.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why do they even need that? They don't care about that. So we lowballed them, didn't get it, and we're about to pay the price coming up. Other games, sorry about your Panthers, man. They beat the Texans.
I told
15-13.
you I was worried, and this is why. It was a home game, a Texans team that's riding a little too high. This is exactly what I was worried about. And
If
it
the
wasn't
season
pretty.
ended today, Cardinals have picked 1, Bears via Carolina 2, Bears 3.
Yeah, so basically we'd be looking at Drake May and Marvin Harrison Jr. type situation.
Yeah.
Not the worst. Not the worst, but yeah, I don't know. It's gonna get a little dicey. Kyler Murray's back for the Cardinals. We'll see if that provides any boost.
Well, they're not starting him yet.
Yeah, I know. But Josh Dobbs is gone, so it's around the corner. Let's hope that leads to an extra win or two. I don't know. They have to play him just to see what they have. I mean, if they did get one, they'd probably end up trading him. So that'd be another off-season storyline. Is who takes Kyler Murray in his contract?
Maybe the Vikings. I don't know. Depends where they're at. I think the Vikings need to sit down with Justin Jefferson this offseason and make him happy, because if they lose him, they're screwed.
They could get a haul
find
back.
out what quarterback you want, get him. That's true, but
would you trade the number 3 pick for Justin Jefferson?
Yes.
You would.
A known commodity.
So basically, I was asking because you're basically trading Justin Jefferson and his extension worthy or high contract AAV that he's going to get or you can have Marvin Harrison Jr. on a rookie deal. Still not a cheap rookie deal at 3, but it's still a rookie deal in comparison. It's probably a $15-20 million difference per year.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson right now is on a 4-year, $13 million deal. They have his 5th-year option picked up for next year at $19 million. He hasn't signed his extension yet, but it's coming.
It's going to be a lot of money.
You draft Marvin Harrison Jr. though because you want Justin Jefferson. I just think it'd be really hard to pass that up. So maybe get a rookie QB or.
Yeah, it depends on your roster construction and situation, because you're not gonna. If you don't have the cap room, then it really does. It's a moot point. I don't know. I think that's just an interesting debate, because I think Justin Jefferson and Marvin Harrison Jr. are similar prospect wise. Like when Justin Jefferson was coming out, they were like the 2 big dogs.
Yeah. So I heard you put in a little Marvin Harrison Jr.
I did. I put a Marvin Harrison Jr. Heisman odds 10-1. I know FanDuel has 14-1. Some other books have 13-1. My only option was 10-1. I'm totally fine with that number. I've heard some of the pushback I've gotten from some colleagues in the biz is that Ohio State may not make the playoff. That'll hurt his chances. And I hear that. I understand that. Everything is a roll of the dice right now in the Heisman race. And I'll just say that even if Ohio State loses to Michigan, I still think they have a very decent shot of making the college football playoff. And with how he's performed the last month, I would have loved to get him 3-4 weeks ago, but I'm already on Bo Nix at 10-1. That's down to 6-1. So those are my 2 for now. I don't really love any of the guys at the top. I don't love JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix. It just feels wide open still. So I'm going to take some of the longer odds.
So he is down to He is down to 12-1 now on FanDuel. He was 1,400 this morning.
Okay.
On DraftKings, he's down to 10-1. Yeah, we mentioned it last week at 20-1. I wish I bet it at 20-1. I didn't end up doing it. But I bet him at 12-1. But same exercise applies, like as what we did last week. We like laid out the schedule and basically was like, is this realistic? You can kind of do this with the remaining guys. Like Penix Jr., if Washington wins out, yeah, he does have a legitimate chance. We just don't think they win out. That's why we bet Oregon for the national title.
Yeah.
Oregon wins the Pac-12. JJ McCarthy, do you think there's any controversy? Like with the controversy that's happening, do you think that could negatively affect him?
I think it will, because it's not going away. And I think it's getting to the point where people are like, oh, well, was that play only there because they knew what the other play was running? And like, even if it's only like 10% of the voters who give a shit, like it's going to impact it. There's going to be a few old heads that maybe give it too much consideration. I know how I feel about it, but I'm going to go on a limb and say there's some people who are, similar to that Baseball Hall of Fame, act like they're holier than thou. So I don't know. I don't love JJ McCarthy in this spot. I don't think he's even that great. I think he's a first round pick, but I don't think he's like a generational Heisman contender or anything like that. Michael Penix just had a bad game 2 weeks ago. We know he's capable of it. And like you said, I think Oregon's better than Washington. I know they lost head to head, but I think there's a good chance they get a rematch. And I like Oregon's chances. And that's part of the reason I'm on Bo Nix. And then we did bet Oregon at 28-1 last week, 25-1, 28-1, something like that to win the national title. They're down to like 12-1, 13-1. So they've basically had their odds, cut in half in our direction. So I feel pretty good about it. They curb stomped Utah 35-6 or whatever it was. It wasn't even close.
Yeah. I was also taking a look at Carson Beck.
I agree. I actually think Carson Beck is underrated.
He's 35-1 at DK. Through 8 games the last 2 years, Carson Beck has 2,462 yards, 14 TDs, 4 interceptions. Comparing that to Stetson Bennett of 2022 first 8 games, Carson Beck has 100 more yards, 5 more touchdowns, and 1 more interception.
And it matters to voters and stuff that he is more of. I'm not saying he's going to be like a top draft pick, but he's more of a prospect than Stetson Bennett was.
Yeah, and what Dane Brugler said, the Athletics main NFL guy, he said Bennett putting up those numbers. He did it as an established veteran. Beck is doing it in his first 8 career starts. So the fact that he has this much production early on says a lot.
Georgia doesn't have
definitely a guy.
And don't get me wrong, Georgia has athletes everywhere, but they don't have like a Heisman contender anywhere else on the offense. They don't have some absolute stud running back like we're used to them having, or even at wide receiver when they've had Hardman and Ridley and like all these guys that were studs. They don't have those right now.
Yeah, I mean it was Brock Bowers until he got hurt.
That's true. They had Brock Bowers. That's true. But yeah, now he's doing it without Brock Bowers. So
I personally would not bet Carson Beck, but I'd keep an eye on it, I suppose. I'd maybe like him for next year if you think Georgia's going to go undefeated.
I wish there was a way you could buy like player stocks, because like I don't think he's going to win the award, but I'm buying his stock as someone that's going to keep rising up the ranks and like get more respect.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really no way to do that without just like, unless you're like into like player props or something necessarily. But anyways.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else in the NFL you wanted to touch on, or do you just want to get straight into college? I don't know where you're at.
Trying to think if there's any other big outcomes.
I guess I can just run through the scores real quick. Dolphins beat the Patriots by 14. Patriots are screwed. Our over bet. I'm sorry, everybody. Jags beat the Steelers. Steelers offense is bad. Steelers play Thursday night against the Titans, and Will Levis just threw 4 touchdowns. He literally looks 10 times the player Desmond Ridder is.
Mhm.
So that was nice to see. Teams, do you think Will Levis slid in the draft because he's actually not good, or do you think it was just a really unlucky night for him?
I think a mixture of both. I think there's only so many teams needed a quarterback, and I don't think that teams viewed him much worse than some of the other guys. But after that top tier quarterbacks went, it just seemed like the board didn't have a lot of quarterback thirsty teams. So that probably worked against him a little bit. He probably should have been drafted closer to where Mac Jones went to the Pats, but I really was surprised he fell. I don't think he was necessarily. I still don't necessarily think he's going to be some stud or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of optimistic on him. I feel like he's already suckered me once because I bet on him to go number 2 in the draft. But this tweet from Scott Barrett, DFB, says the NFL was a lot higher on Will Levis than draft capital implied. Seems like a little bad luck cost him nearly $25 million.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts, Jim Irsay, their owner, said they would have taken him if Richardson wasn't on the board. They would have taken Richardson at 1.01. Titans said they would have taken him at 11 if Skoronski wasn't available. And Ravens said they probably would have taken him at 22 if they hadn't signed Lamar Jackson earlier in the day. So, obviously those are just words, but I feel like some teams were higher on him than. I don't think it's fair to say, oh, he's a second-round QB. I think realistically he was a mid-first round QB.
I agree. He was a similar prospect in my head to what Mac was.
Yeah. Other scores, Ravens held off the Cardinals. Cardinals just play it close every week and end up losing.
Cowboys put on a beat down at the Ram. The Bears got smoked on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. Both blowouts. Matt Stafford looks like his thumb's a little jacked up. Could have a UCL injury, or excuse me, a thumb injury. So not sure what's gonna happen there. Your Bears got screwed on the first play of the game.
Yeah,
should have been a touchdown. Would have changed the whole dynamic. But.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that seem like they go against the Bears, but at this point, maybe the league just really wants us to get a quarterback. I don't know. It's my only guess. And then obviously you already hit on the Lions last night, so I feel like we're good. If we want to get into some college football, I guess the breaking news for the Iowa fans that are listening, Beth Getz, Iowa's interim athletic director, released an announcement yesterday. So following our bye week, that Brian Ferentz will not be back in 2024 in any capacity. So no demotions, nothing like that. But a lot of hot takes out there today. Kirk met with the media today for the first time since he did not seem very pleased. Obviously, were you surprised by the announcement coming mid-season?
No, I just think it was getting out of control.
Yeah.
Then you had to, and it's funny because I feel like them getting rid of him didn't make that big of a wave in the media, outside of Iowa. Everyone's doing the road to 324 or whatever it is. But I just feel like people are like, oh, yep, Brian Ferentz got let go finally, and then that's kind of it. Or maybe I'm off base with that. Did you feel that way?
No, I mean, I haven't followed, I guess, the national stuff as much yet. Maybe there'll be more to come out. I didn't really believe it until I saw the press release. I want to quickly say, I think Beth Getz pretty much established herself as that interim tag is going to get taken off. She is going to be the athletic director.
Well, okay. Do you think she did that in season just so she could become the AD?
No.
I'm looking at her credentials right now, and I'm not I'm sure she knows what she's doing, but she's a women's soccer coach turned Iowa AD within 10 years. Is that the normal route? Does that just happen?
I have no idea. I don't know enough about her background. I've just paid attention since she got here, and I think she's done a pretty good job. She seems like she knows she's got it going on. She seems like she understands the whole NIL collective and like the future of college football. But I don't like, maybe even more so than Kirk, but she was left with kind of a shitty position because she didn't do the Gary Barta
Yeah.
25-point thing. So, and like
Yeah.
Kirk doesn't normally fire someone mid-season. I know he wasn't happy about that, but my opinion is just like, if you didn't hire your son and like find these loopholes for a nepotism law to get him hired in the first place, this type of stuff wouldn't, this whole contract wouldn't have been written the way it was, and this whole firing or announcing a firing mid-season, I don't know if it got leaked or what, but I'm still kind of surprised she announced it. So I don't know if it was going to get
I
leaked.
feel like it did get leaked, but it should have happened, so it's fine.
Yeah, I don't
He can
care.
have a little farewell tour. I think it's going to be hilarious if Iowa goes and scores 40 Saturday.
Iowa goes out there and has a
I want Brian Ferentz to score so much
5 wide
that they start second guessing the decision. Yeah,
that would be Iowa fans' nightmares. He goes out there, plays great, and then all of a sudden next year comes back and it looks like the same offense of the last few years. He's like just a total trick to everyone.
Two things I want to say. One, like Beth Getz, I'm looking at her history here. I want to say on the record, she is qualified. Me saying from soccer coach to AD in 10 years, that was not factually correct. She was associate AD from 2000 to 2013 at a couple colleges, then deputy AD at Minnesota, interim AD at Minnesota, Connecticut COO, chief operating officer of a college. Sounds sweet.
Yeah,
that just sounds fancier than AD. Then she was the AD at Ball State, and then took over at Iowa. So she's been there. I think it would have been funny if she added another contract stipulation where she's like, you can come back to Iowa in 2025, but you need to go spend a year under Lane Kiffin or Lincoln Riley or someone who can like score and like write me like a 5-paragraph essay on why you think that you deserve this spot. That's all it takes.
To me, Brian is like, for our listeners who are Succession fans, I think Brian is very Kendall Roy to me. I think Brian loves Iowa. I think he loves the program. I think he loves his dad. I think he cares about the players. I think he really, really, really wanted to be successful and worked hard. He just wasn't good enough. And like his dad put him in a position that he maybe just wasn't built to do. And it's going to end up probably being the end of both of their careers here. We can get into that in a minute, but I don't think Brian like wanted to suck on purpose. I'm not going to be like a total dick about it or anything like that. He just wasn't the right guy. And I know we had these conversations with like Hack during one of our Talking Hawks, and it was like, I asked like, was he qualified? Yes, he was qualified, but there's usually a lot of time, like there's usually a lot of people who apply for things that are qualified. That doesn't mean they're the best person for the job. He might have had the experience, all of that. Just because someone checks the box on the education and the experience doesn't mean they're the best person for the job. There were probably people out there who were interested that weren't related to Kirk, that had play calling experience, that had a track record, that could have done some different things. On the record, I was totally okay with the hiring. I thought that Brian was going to be the only one that could get to Kirk to try to evolve or to adapt, and it didn't work. I just thought he was if Kirk's going to change and like learn about, Kirk has a blind spot when it comes to offense. If there's anyone who's going to get him to see things from a different perspective, I thought it'd be Brian, and it's not true, I guess.
Yeah.
So
do you think if Kirk Ferentz, if he, I guess, leaves Iowa at the end of this year, does it have to be retirement, or do you think it's possible he could coach somewhere else? Because he is only 68 years old. Saban's like 74.
that's tough. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't.
Saban's 72. Saban is 72. I mean, Kirk's healthy. He could easily coach for 5 more years. 3, at least 3.
Yeah.
Like, there's no excuse not to, other than a falling out with Iowa, which is happening. So,
yeah, I mean, maybe he wants to go to the NFL and do be a special assistant, something he doesn't have to recruit. I don't know. But if Kirk doesn't, if Kirk, I'll be a little surprised if Kirk resigns because he has a $42 million buyout. That's a lot of money. And he has all that. He's not going to get that money if he resigns. Maybe they can work out they can negotiate a little bit and work out a buyout at a lot smaller number. But I don't know. The idea of bringing in a new coach kind of sounds exciting to me personally, because a lot of the people that'll say oh, it wasn't Brian's fault, the offense sucks, it's Kirk. There's obviously truth to that, but then it's also why do I want that guy who you just admitted to me has a blind spot and is going to completely bomb the next hire? Why do I have any faith that he's going to hire someone that A, is going to be good, and B, is going to have the power to run things the way they want to? And if Kirk won't let that person do that, then why should he stay? What is the
yep.
If the blind spot is getting worse every year, we're just stalling out the inevitable. So I'm excited about the possibility of Kirk being done. There's a lot of hot takes going on in that regard, but I don't know. I think Iowa could get a good name if they really want to. So
time will tell. Time will tell. Yeah. So
wait,
as you know, Hawks.
I was going to say one other big thing that came out of the press conference today. Deacon Hill is still the starting quarterback. That was maybe the biggest takeaway for me. I was like, what? I saw the depth chart. I didn't know if I bought it, but Deacon Hill is still QB1 after everything we just saw the last month. I have some questions, and they're not friendly questions.
I want Marco Lanes to come on our podcast. I'm going to try so hard to get him 5 years from now and just be just tell us how you were feeling in fall of 2023. Did you just feel like an absolute loser? Because I promise you, however bad you felt, you shouldn't have felt that bad. Your coaches are just idiots. There's no way that he could do any worse. There's no way at practice he's doing any worse. That's not possible.
Deacon Hill ranks 316th out of 316 qualified quarterbacks in passing rating. He's worse than these MAC level QB backups that are going in garbage time. He is horrible.
Dude, did you see what passing camp he went to this summer? It answers a lot of questions.
St. Ambrose?
No, PJ Walker passing
academy. Are you serious?
So no wonder why he's not any good. No, I'm just joking.
I was gonna say, oh, that's great. I don't think. It's not even Deacon Hill's fault too. I don't blame him. I blame the coaches. Like you said, it's not his fault that the coaches keep running him out there. I don't know what Joey Labus has to do to see the football field. I mean, what is going on behind the scenes for him to not play just blows my mind. And if you're Marco Lanes, yeah, like you said, why you're sitting behind the worst QB in Power 5 history, maybe, and you can't see the field in November of your true freshman season? I don't know. I'd be a little what are we doing here? If Deacon is the best that we have, that was a fireable offense for Brian.
Dude, I'm reading in 2020 this national recruiting analyst for 247 Sports. They projected Deacon Hill as a day 3 draft pick with his comp as Big Ben.
That is bad. That is bad.
That's funny.
That guy is that guy still employed by 247?
I'm gonna snip this and I'm gonna tweet it at him.
At this point,
Oh,
would
that's
Deacon Hill
funny.
start at Fordham, where he was originally committed before Iowa? This brings me.
Yeah, he would for one. He would for 1 or 2 games, and they'd be smart enough to say you suck and put
Yeah,
someone else in.
yeah. I just can't believe that we haven't seen. I don't think the transfer portal, the first transfer portal opening, has occurred yet. I think it's around the corner. I won't be shocked if there's a lot of names on the offensive side of the ball that are gone. But then again, a bunch of these recruits were saying that there was a lot of positive feedback from Iowa's 2024 recruiting class on the offensive side of the ball that about Brian being let go. Like their quarterback did not sound like he was thinking about decommitting because Brian's gone. If anything, it probably that maybe that's part of the reason Beth Getz got ahead of it is she wanted to get ahead of the transfer portal and she wanted to get ahead of recruiting and be like, now you can sell this fan base another bill of goods and maybe it's BS, but maybe that's what Cade needed to stay. I don't know. But
So Cade did say that he's staying. What percent chance do you actually believe that he's the starting QB for Iowa, like barring
well,
injuries
my whole reason for thinking
next
he
year?
probably wasn't was he kept calling out Brian in the media. But if Brian's gone, I think it makes it a little more likely. I'd still think it's probably a 60-40 he's back. The only way I could see it, like I guess we don't even know who the OC is going to be. It better not be John Budmeyer, or it better not be Paul Christ, or like some just like Kirk clone or Kirk yes man. Because if it's one of those guys, we might get a slightly better version of what we are now. Because like, don't get me wrong, this offensive scheme is terrible, but this is still the worst it's ever been executed. I want to change, but there's probably a
Yeah.
glorified Brian or a Brian with lipstick is what Kirk's going to hire, and I don't want that either. So if they hired a new QB or a new OC and they let that guy actually do his own thing, maybe that guy brings a QB with him or recruits a certain type of QB or a different system, and maybe K doesn't fit. I don't know, but that's all TBD. Um, Kirk
Yeah.
wasn't committal to whether or not he's coming back in 2024. I thought that was a little suspicious, but I also think that's just kind of Kirk. So I'm not reading into as much as some others.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say anything either. Could you imagine if he said, "Yeah, this is my last
Yeah,
year"?
he can't say that.
Then it would turn into like this whole
And he
thing.
also probably doesn't want to
Yeah.
say 100% he's coming back because it's got to be awkward, right? Between him and the AD and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny because I feel like it was kind of a boring weekend of college football. There weren't a lot of big games, so it's nice that we kind of got this Iowa news. We got a nice day off from watching Iowa, and then we get this Iowa news to stir up the media
Yeah,
headlines
now
this
it's like
week.
we don't have to get as
Um,
annoyed watching this shit because it's like, well, at least we know this is the end of the road. Like we knew it, but now it's like it's official.
yeah.
It's done.
And all right, I'll ask you one last question, then we can move on. For the pro Brian Ferentz individuals in the world, Iowa fans, do we feel bad for them that they've been so delusional that they've now convinced themselves they should be sad about this?
Um I mean, I don't are there I don't know if those people actually exist after last weekend. I'd like to think that anyone who is saying that is doing that because they are like absolutely just like beyond loyal to Kirk and they appreciate him a ton, but I don't
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for anyone in regards to what the decision made Monday.
Any like looking back on this year, the like these same Hawkeye fans that are pro Brian Ferentz 5 years from now, they'll be like, it was just a bit. Like, why would you even take that seriously? It was just a bit. And we'll be like, all right, fine. That's fine. But anyway, I'm just glad that Iowa and Kirk, and especially if this is last year, just continued. I hope they show each other hospitality and there's just mutual respect on both sides, because when there's no hospitality, that's just something
We
that
just
hurts
need them
me.
to go 10-2 and make Indy and Kirk can go out with the division title.
Yep, exactly. All right. Other games. Kansas knocked off the fake ID of college football, Oklahoma. Thank goodness that one's over. Penn State squeaked by Indiana. I know. Well, Slade and I, a little side story here. We went on a walk Saturday morning and just ended up at the San Diego Zoo. We looked at each other and we're like, "Are we just gonna walk in?" So we did. $72, well spent. But that means we didn't get to watch a lot of college football. We just intermittently checked the scores. So I saw they were like tied with in the fourth quarter, and then they ended up winning by getting a touchdown and a safety late. Oregon beat Utah 35-6. No Cam Rising is bad. I don't know where that guy is, but he doesn't seem like he's going to play for Utah ever again. Georgia stomped Florida 43-20.
What was Graham Mertz's stat line? Do we have that up?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Graham Mertz, 25 of 34 for 230 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Damn.
What more do you want out of him? What more do you want out of him?
I didn't have anything. All I did was ask. I can't ask a question.
Yeah. I can't wait for our end of season college football recap where I just go over all of Graham Mertz stats. We might have a separate episode, just like a 15-minute mini episode, the Graham Mertz deep dive.
Dude, what if Graham Mertz gets drafted?
He should. I should look it up. Graham Mertz draft. While I'm looking this up, Ohio State, Michigan, or Ohio State, Wisconsin, you were right on that. Got the under there. Yeah, I don't know. The only other exciting game was, I mean, if you want to call this exciting, Washington-Stanford. Washington hung on and won by 9 against a bad Stanford team. Penix stat padded, 370 yards, 4 TDs. This Washington team is going to get beat. I don't know when it's going to be. They're going to get beat.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know when. I have to look. I'm about to pull up their schedule right now.
Their schedule, they play at USC
they play
Saturday.
3 ranked games in a row.
Utah at home, and then at Oregon State. At Oregon State.
Yeah,
we got to put.
Speaking of which, I did give out Arizona money line at plus 140 on the pod. I told people to sprinkle on that. They did beat Oregon State 27-24. So
well done.
I didn't actually play a ton of that myself. I wish I would have put more on. I only sprinkled, like I said, but a win's a win.
Yeah.
I think Washington should beat USC. I think they should beat Utah. Oregon State is, the big one. The Pac-12, I don't think they have division, so it's just the 2 best division records or conference records. That's who plays in the Pac-12 title game. As it's shaping up right now, there's 3 teams with 1 loss or 0 losses. So that's Washington at 5-0. They're probably in even if they lose again. And then USC and Oregon are the 1-loss teams. And USC and Oregon play each other on November 11th, so not this weekend, but next. I have to imagine Oregon will be a pretty big favorite in that. I think assuming Oregon wins that game, you can kind of lock up the Pac-12 title game. Oregon State has an outside shot because they play Oregon head-to-head, and they would have a tiebreaker. If they won that, I don't see it. They'd also have to beat Washington head-to-head, and I don't see that either. So I think Oregon State will finish around 8-4 with 4 top 10 losses. Well, 3 top 10 losses in Arizona.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy how the Pac-12 is the best conference this year. It's not the SEC like everyone would have guessed. It's far and away the Pac-12. Then it's probably the Big Ten. Well, yeah, Big Ten's top heavy. It's probably the Big Ten next.
Yeah, I mean some of the big games this weekend. Clemson Notre Dame is no longer a big game, so I guess we don't have to care about that one anymore. I want to quickly give a shout out. My friend Jack sent me the Clemson Dabo video last night. I honestly agree with 99% of what Dabo said in his rant about the fans being not appreciative enough. I mean, they had 12 straight 10-win seasons, 2 national titles. They literally won the conference last year, and people are acting like they're like I think our friend Brady said they're a mid program now or something. Like it's one down year out of like a decade and a half. Like I'm not going to overreact. They play a tough schedule. They've had like maybe one or two bad performances. They still should have beat the team ranked like number 3 or 4 in the country. So, Georgia, Missouri, that's number 2 versus number 15. I mean, technically, if Missouri wins this, they'd go to the SEC title game, assuming they won out. Missouri only has one loss, and it's a close loss to LSU. But Georgia's
everybody who loves college football wants a Mizzou LSU SEC
and
title.
Georgia's a 15.5 point favorite, so I don't think Vegas is giving Missouri any respect, and I don't blame them. Oklahoma State's kind of a good game. Number 9 versus number 22. I was really wrong about
Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is a path.
Yeah,
to the title
that's
game.
the team I was probably most wrong about this year. I thought they were crap. I bet they're under 7.5 coming into the year. They started the year off looking horrible. Dude, they lost to South Alabama 33-7 week 3. And then they lost to Iowa State by a touchdown the week after. They were 2-2, and then they go and they beat Kansas State. They beat Kansas. They beat West Virginia. And then last week they beat Cincinnati by 32. And now they finished the year with BYU, Houston, and UCF. UCF and Houston are terrible. They're 3-win teams right now. So, yeah, Oklahoma State does have a path to a Big 12 title game. I still wouldn't bet on that. I still think Texas will probably get it done or get there. But obviously no Quinn Ewers, as we've mentioned before. Alabama, LSU is the game of the weekend, in my opinion. Alabama is a 3-point favorite. I know you're riding with Bama. I think I'm with you. I think Bama wins. It's not good. It's not good for my under, but I was on the over 9.5 when that came out after their Texas loss. So I'm trying to middle it.
I mean, LSU can score as much as they want, it seems like, but their defense is just as bad as their offense is good. I think Bama will just be able to run it down their throats, especially in the second half. I don't think they'll have any issues, and I think Bama has good enough talent on defense to make some like highlight plays and have a couple interceptions or something to slow them down. So that's why I'm taking Bama.
In terms of Heisman talk, we haven't really mentioned Jaden Daniels. He's like plus 400, so I think he's like third. I think it's like Penix and McCarthy and then him. Obviously, this game I feel like will kind of decide where he's at in the race. They still have Florida and an A&M game coming up, but this is his last time to play like a true top 10 team. If he goes out there and throws like 5 touchdowns and beats Alabama, this might be the last time you have him at a plus 400 type number. So I'm not saying that I think that's going to happen. I'm just saying that his path is there, and Saturday is huge for him.
Do they not have to win the title game against Georgia? Then they'd have 3 losses.
When does the Heisman voting happen? Is it after conference title games?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes it tougher. You're going to get Caleb Williams versus Michael Penix head to head. I think Caleb Williams is out of the race just because his team. I don't know. I feel like if Jordan Travis won the Heisman, that would be just kind of the most blah Heisman winner ever. But I think he's 8-1.
I'm looking up winners on teams with 3 regular season losses. It's more than you would think. Last winner was 2016, Lamar Jackson. Louisville went 9-3. 2011, RG3 for Baylor. They went 9-3. And then in 2007, Tim Tebow. They went 9-3 as well. So it's possible. I think if they lost a close game to Georgia, it'd be a lot better. And if you put a big numbers.
I agree. And that's why I was kind of like pushing back on the whole Marvin Harrison's team isn't going to make the playoff. Like, even if they don't, let's say, like that, I don't think that eliminates him. If his team goes 11-1, like he's a wide receiver, he can't play defense. I don't know. Seems a little silly to kind of hold that against him. But
Dude, what's up with Paul Hornung in 1956? He won the Heisman for Notre Dame. He went 2-8 that year.
Are you serious? No, probably because it's Notre
Yeah.
Dame.
Could you imagine that?
And
Yeah. That was their 5th Heisman winner in 14 years. So stacked.
we didn't talk about the most exciting game of the weekend, Iowa Northwestern. That game is at Wrigley Field. That's kind of sick. I don't know what channel that's on. I'm sure it's on one of the big ones, but
it's on
that's
Peacock.
so stupid. But the line, they had like the lowest total ever. It was 29.5. I don't know if you saw that. It just got bet up to 31.5 on FanDuel. So a little sneak preview to my Thursday 6-pack. Under. I don't care. I'm taking the under until they go over.
You just want to make that a 10-unit play? Give us some wiggle room for the next few weeks?
Maybe. Shit.
Can't do that.
I don't know anything. I think I've watched Northwestern like twice this year, so I don't know anything about them. I kind of tuned them out after Fitz got fired, so I think Iowa wins. They should.
I think so too. Yeah. All right. I think that covers it for college football. We'll be back Thursday to give our plays. They'll probably be all NFL and college, but I do have one play I just want to sneak in right now. For those of you tennis fans out there, I know it's not many of you, but the WTA finals are happening in Cancun, and basically it's like 4 women in one division, 4 women on the other. It's round robin. Then the final 4, or the top 2 in each division, their best they like take their best records and then they put them in like a 4-person bracket, whatever. Iga Swiatek, the number 2 player in the world, she just lost her number 1 ranking to Sabalenka. She is currently minus 120 to win her division on FanDuel. So we are putting a unit on her to win her division at minus 120. The other women in her division are Coco Gauff, who's the number 1 American, Marketa Vondrousova, who Iga just beat 7-6, 6-0 yesterday, and then Ons Jabeur, who is not in good form. She has a lot of injuries. So Iga's minus 120. Minus 125. Iga's minus 125 on FanDuel. She plays Coco Gauff tomorrow, and she's minus 240 to win the match. So I don't understand why she's minus 125 to win the group. So you're basically betting Iga money line against Coco Gauff at minus 125 instead of 240 because she's not losing to Ons Jabeur.
And
so
that was talking tennis.
Yeah, so that is where, if you're still listening to us right now, thank you. We will reward you by giving
our
you
tennis
a baseball
record is
update.
pretty good. So, like, if you are listening to us for entertainment, skip it. If you're listening to us to make money, play it.
Yeah, it's our second most profitable sport. We're up 3.92 units on tennis. So if you want to make money, listen to my tennis segments.
Baseball, World Series.
Scherzer and Adolis Garcia are off the roster. They're both hurt. So
I literally
Rangers are up 2-1.
Yeah, I was gonna say I literally bet the Rangers to win in 6 this morning. The odds are down now because I think the game's about to start, but or is already going on. Maybe I don't know. I wonder. I feel like I could have gotten better odds on that now that those 2 are out. I'm not changing my pick. It's definitely unfortunate. Do you think this is going 7?
Andrew Heaney's pitching tonight. I actually don't hate him. I think the Rangers win tonight. So I don't hate it in 6. I just think Corey Seager's still good enough to be that dude in the lineup that can be the power hitter. I don't think they need Adolis Garcia. I don't even think they need Scherzer because I don't even think he's that
hasn't
good.
been
He
a positive
3 innings
for them in the playoffs. So
yeah,
I agree with the Scherzer thing.
The Adolis thing is a huge.
I think
deal,
it's a lineup protection thing too. But yeah, I don't Scherzer. You didn't know what you were going to get anyway. If anything, he could have came in and kind of messed up some of the rhythm they had. I bet it ends in 6, and then I bet it ends in the 6 with the Rangers. So I kind of double dipped. It leaves me a path for if the Diamondbacks win the next 3. I don't see that happening. If the Diamondbacks are going to win this series, I'm going to say it's going to be in 7. But I was like, well, I'll take a slightly.
Hey, if you lose, at least you get a game 7 in the World Series. Might be worth losing a few bucks on enjoyment factor. All right. I think that's pretty much it for now. We'll be back Thursday. We'll have our plays ready to go. Like I said, we're up 7.43 units. Hopefully we can add a couple more onto that. We just want to thank everyone for listening. Tell your friends, subscribe on YouTube, download our pod, give us 5 stars, all that good stuff. Thanks. This has been another episode of Bet GPT.